All right, so I'm just gonna say like a quick introduction.
Mhm.
So today is Saturday, November 11th, 2023. My name is Emily Ma, and I'm here with Wiping Sun or Yueping Sun on behalf of the Houston Asian American Archive at Rice. And as a disclaimer, this is not a standard oral history interview, but is rather part of my independent research project on ways that Chinese American immigrant parents express love to their children. So could you next state when and where you were born?
Yes, I was born in 1957, and Shanghai is my hometown. And
And then could you kind of walk us through your household growing up and your relationship with your parents?
I grew up in I have to say, an unusual household because since I was 6 months old, I stayed with my grandparents, my father's parents. So I only got to see my parents maybe once a year. And so growing up, I thought my grandparents were my parents.
So when you were growing up, like what were the occasions when you did get to see your parents?
It would be mainly when my father, mostly my father, when he was on a business trip and he will be stopping by. And so that would be the time I saw him.
I see. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like I guess in terms of, I guess since you mainly interacted with your grandparents on a daily basis,
Mhm,
how would you say that they express love towards you?
mhm. Well, they, of course, they never told me they love me, unlike the American parents. But they show their love through their action, through the way how they care for me, and through whatever I did, they were supportive of that. And also they wanted me to be the best person I could be, by teaching me good values. And I remember my grandmother, whenever there is a natural disaster and then we have beggars coming by, she will always send me out to give them food. And she told me, make sure to present them with food with both your hands, to show your respect for them, because these are the people like us, but they are just going through a hard time. And so we need to care for them and respect them. So I learned empathy as a young child from my grandparents.
I see. That's really beautiful. So yeah, I guess one of the like values that they instilled in you was like empathy or universal respect.
Mhm.
What would you say are some other values that they taught you?
To be honest, never gossip about other people. And if it's a minor thing, to be flexible. And don't always be kind of the Chinese thing 计较, kind of being small-minded or narrow-minded, and with open mind, and always sort of live and learn, always be open to new things. So these are all the basic values I learned um, from them.
Right. And would you say that like influenced your own parenting and like the values that you passed down to your mom?
Definitely, definitely, a has. Uh, I always taught my children um, to be honest, to be sort of caring for other people and have empathy. And so when there was a natural disaster, I was so proud when my kids suggested that we should go to the food bank and help people. And so I took them to the food bank. So they also hardworking, good work ethics. Um, treat other people with respect. And so these are all kind of the values I learned as a child. Now I'm passing it on to my children.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. Like that cycle of positive values is kind of keeping going. Just going back to your own childhood, could you let me know some of your happiest memories with your grandparents or with your parents that you recall?
Well, one happy memory was when my father showed up with a box of candy, box of cookies. So even though I didn't get to see him that often, but whenever he came, I was just very happy to see him. And my happy memory with my grandparents was there was at that time we lived in Tianjin, and there was this Tianjin 狗不理包子, a very well-known restaurant selling dumplings, kind of a steamed dumplings, buns. And my grandparents, if I did something really well, and as a reward, and they would take me to the dumpling restaurant, and my grandfather will always carry me on his shoulders. And so that was really a happy memory for me.
Yeah, that sounds so warm. Like I know food is definitely a way for many Asian parents or like grandparents or guardians in general to show love. Was there like a particular dish that you really enjoyed growing up?
Yes. Oh my gosh, the dish my grandmother made, it was all kind of a vegetarian things in there. And it's a very typical Shanghai dish. It had tofu, it had kind of mushrooms, and it was little like a stew without the meat portion. But it was just delicious. So that was my favorite dish.
That's awesome. And kind of like continuing the cycle, do you also cook these things for your children as well?
I do, especially, birthdays, and we always will have some spinach, have noodles, and sometimes I made the dish, my favorite dish my grandmother made, but of course it's never as good as the one my grandmother made. So passing on a little bit tradition to celebrate. We celebrate so many New Years, right? We celebrate Yuan Dan, that is the Western New Year, right? January 1st. And then we also celebrate Chinese New Year. We celebrate Jewish New Year. We just, whenever there is a occasion, we celebrate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like a lot of great festivities.
Yes.
Moving on to your immigration experience, could you tell me when and why you immigrated to America?
I came to America in 1981 to attend college. When I was in China, growing up there through the Cultural Revolution, my sort of grandparents got into trouble because my grandfather went back to China from Hong Kong with machinery, with other aerospace engineers, and pilots flew planes back, and they were treated very well by the government. They had high salaries, but during the Cultural Revolution, they were accused of being spies. So our house was searched by Red Guards, and things were taken away. But anyway, Premier Zhou Enlai saved us. And then I went to Tianjin Foreign Language School to learn English. And then after graduation, I was assigned to work in the Import and Export Corporation in the translation office. At that time, China decided to resume the National College Entrance Exam. So I was among the first group taking the exam. I got into Beijing Languages University. And when I was there, I learned about opportunities coming to America to study. So I thought that's a great idea. I wanted to come to America to study. And so I sent letters. At that time, we didn't have the internet. So I sent letters requesting for applications from 10 universities. And eventually I only applied to Princeton and Yale because they offer scholarships. And I was very lucky. I got into Princeton. They gave me a full scholarship. They even sent me an airline ticket. So that's how I came to America. It wasn't without obstacles. At first, when I told my school I wanted to go abroad, go to the US, they were like, no, you cannot go, because they wanted me to stay. At that time, I was already a junior. They wanted me to stay. After I graduated, they wanted me to become a teacher at the school. So they say you have to go and get permission from the Ministry of Education. So I tried. I was turned down. They told me, no, you cannot leave. But if you ask my husband, he'll tell you I am very stubborn. I never take no for an answer. This is also another value I'm passing on to my parents, to my children. Never take no for an answer. There are always ways you can solve a problem. So I didn't give up. Every other day I will be on my bicycle going to the Ministry of Education. After 3 months, they were fed up with me. They said, okay, you can go. So I got permission from them, and then I had to get visa from the US Embassy. I remember I went to the embassy to Beijing. The line outside the embassy was so long. Eventually, I got in and filled out the form and went for my interview. The first question the officer said to me was, I am confused. How come a baby is trying to go abroad? I realized that my mistake right away. Instead of my birth year, I put down 1981. Of course, I was only 6 months old at the time. But without missing a beat, I said to him, but she's a very smart baby. She got a full scholarship to Princeton. And, humor transcends cultures. And so he laughed. He just, stamped my passport and said, good luck. So that's how I came to America.
That's so
Sorry,
funny.
long answer to your question.
No, it's good. That's an amazing story. Yeah, so you mentioned kind of being like stubborn, and I was just wondering, how did you stay so resilient when you were like navigating such a big lifestyle change?
Well, I guess when I was young, I follow 3 Ps. I find the 3 Ps have served me well throughout my life. The first P for me is passion. So whatever I do, I find my passion. And I realize that passion itself is not enough. Then you need the second P, that is preparation, right? You need to prepare yourself and be the best you can be. But even with all the preparation you can do, that's not enough either, because sometimes you do not succeed the first trial, right? Or even the second, or even the 10th trial. That's why the stubbornness comes in. Then you need the third P, that is perseverance. And that's part of it. Do not take no for an answer. You just keep trying. Then to be resilient. And that's how you can achieve your goal, and that's how you can succeed. That's what I think my children have heard about this 3 Ps so many times. They are probably tired of the 3 Ps.
It's great advice. I'm sure they carry it with them in their daily life.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did it take for you to feel comfortable in the US?
It took some time. I have to say the undergraduate really helped. I know I have lots of friends from China. They came as graduate students, so they feel less integrated. For me, I came as an undergrad, and so you live and eat with other American students, so you feel part of the culture right away. But I have to say, there was big culture shock. First of all, coming from China, we were bicycle nation at that time, right? Coming here to see so many cars, it was just incredible. And the other thing was that I could not understand jokes. The professors were talking about, when they crack jokes, all the students were laughing. They were laughing at the jokes. I was laughing too, but I wasn't laughing at the joke. And I was laughing at the students for laughing at something that didn't seem funny to me. And because I didn't have the cultural background for understanding the jokes. But now I'm there. And I still remember economics class, professor was talking about supply and demand of Budweiser. For the whole class, I had no clue what Budweiser was. So, but I had the nerve of going up to the professor after the class and say, Professor, what is this Budweiser you were talking about? And you should have seen his face. He was so shocked by my question. And then he realized I was a foreign student, international student. So he said, oh, it's just some kind of beer people here like to drink. So there were lots of things to learn coming to America.
Yeah, I'm sure now you're familiar with Budweiser after so many beer bikes.
Yes, yes, now I do know.
So in terms of did you also experience any I guess racial discrimination or any more serious issues, or did you have
Not so much, not so much at the in college, and just couple of times I was walking on the street. If people stare at me, I don't look away. When they stare at me, I stare right back. I stare at them, not maliciously, right? I was like, why are you staring at me? And then eventually they just, look away. And but after I graduated from college and law school, I one day I was going to a club for lunch. And as I was getting there, the older white gentleman, the door person, right, standing there, and said, "Oh, are you here looking for a job? We're looking for someone for our kitchen staff." I was like, "What?" I was already a lawyer at the time, so I said, "No, thank you for your recommendation, but I have a very good job and I'm a lawyer. I'm here to meet with my client for lunch." And he was very embarrassed. So I thought, well, next time when he sees someone looking like me, he would not make the same mistake.
Yes, hopefully it was a learning experience for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess kind of moving on to your current family, would you be sharing how many children you have, and then could you describe the household in which you raised your family?
Yes. I have two children, a boy and a girl. The boy is 26 years old, going to be 27 on Christmas. And my daughter just turned 24, October 20th. And so basically, we have, 4 members in the household, but I also have the extended family, my parents, brother and sister. They live nearby, so we get a lot of help. When the children were younger, my mother was actually living with us in the house. So we are very lucky. And I see a huge difference between my parents or grandparents parenting and my husband's parenting. And we are very open with our children. We tell them we love them. They do the same. They tell us they love us. And, almost on a daily basis, especially with our daughter. Our daughter lives with us right now. And our son is in San Francisco. So we are, I think I've also been kind of transformed by American culture. I'm more vocal with my children about showing them we love them. But then I'm also held back by the Chinese culture. I realized that I've never told my parents that I love them, even though I take care of them. I take them to the doctor's appointments. I provide them with financial support every month. And we bought the townhouse for them. So to show them my love is like through these specific acts, specific things that I do for them. But one thing has improved. I have given them hugs. This is, the Chinese, right? They don't want to do hugs. But I still haven't told them I love them. And because I feel like if I do that, I don't know, they might feel embarrassed or something. So I don't really want to, even though I have already pushed the envelope, but I don't really want to kind of cross the line, make them uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't know whether it's a logical thing or not.
Would you say like they still kind of feel uncomfortable receiving or giving emotion, like affection in an emotional way?
They are, but they are very reserved. The older generation, especially coming from China, they are not used to. And also my parents, when I was in school in China, they also showed them their love for me through acts. At that time, they would send me 50 yuan a month. And I was considered really, really well-to-do among the students because I had some classmates, they were sent by their work unit. They only have had 30 yuan a month, from their company, whatever. And my parents sent me 50 yuan a month. So, they show their love through sort of giving me money.
And then kind of going off of that, why do you personally think there's a stereotype that Asian parents and also Asian American parents can be cold or unloving to their children compared to other cultures?
I think it's just the parents are not very expressive, right? Vocally. Then people think that they are cold. And the other problem is that the Asian parents are very demanding. They want their children to do better. They just want their children to get A's, at school. They don't realize that other factors are important too. Like for instance, play dates. My mother was just against play dates for my children. She was like, why do you have to have kids over to play with them? So I kept explaining that this is America, this is how people socialize. They need to learn how to socialize with other children so that they can resolve any conflicts. And this is a step to prepare them, to become sort of functioning adults and eventually to be a contributing member in the society. So you cannot be very mentally and physically healthy if you only grow up in a bubble.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's important to have a holistic upbringing as well. So I'm also kind of curious about like misunderstandings. So if you feel comfortable sharing, and feel free not to, but do you
Yes.
recall any misunderstandings or conflicts between you and your own children?
Oh, yes, definitely. It just happened yesterday. And tonight, friends of ours invited us to their place for hot pot, and so of course it was kind of my fault too. I thought I did notify my daughter, but I did not. So when she learned from my husband that we are going to the friend's place for dinner, she said that, oh, I already had plans that because she wanted to finish this book, she allowed it herself like tonight to read. I was like, you can be flexible, to read. And then so I wasn't too happy, with her response and her decision. And so I just let it go. I was like, it's your choice. If you want to go, you want to go. If you don't want to go, you don't want to go. And of course, my tone was not very friendly. And then so this morning, and how we resolved it was that I realized that I was not using the proper tone. So this morning I said, well, for dinner tonight, if you can stop by briefly, that will be great. If you decide not to come, that's okay too. And then she kind of compromised too. So she realized that she was being a little bit stubborn for, not a very, I shouldn't say not very good reason, but it was just, the reading you can adjust, right? And it's not something you have already made plans with other people, then probably it's not very good to back out the last minute. And then so she said, oh, okay, she will go tonight. So that's how we resolve it. But mostly I have to say I am very fortunate. I've seen my daughter's classmates, how they treated their mothers. I will not stand it. I feel like parents should be parents. I don't need to be their friends. I am their mother. First of all, they need to have respect for me. And but I was really happy when my daughter was younger. We had a nanny taking her. Sometimes I had events, so I couldn't pick her up from school. And one day, nanny told me, my daughter said that when I grow up, I want to be like my mother, helping other people, because she knows that I serve on lots of different boards and for nonprofit organizations and raising money for people and United Way. And also I've been very lucky that whenever there is a disaster, the city and the county will set up a relief fund for Hurricane Harvey. The Harvey Relief Fund, I was the co-chair of the grants committee. So we gave out $180 million to nonprofit organizations helping the people in need. And then for COVID-19, I was on the task force for the COVID-19 relief fund. We distributed $14 million. And then for winter storm, again, I was on the task force, 7-person task force for the city and the county. We gave out close to $15 million funding. So all these things I'm doing, so she has seen, she's observed, right? Both of them observed. So that kind of makes an impression. And that's kind of a role model playing, I feel, so that she has a desire to serve the community as well.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like you've done so much to be proud of, and then I feel like she's definitely seen that and seen you as an amazing role model as well. Yeah, I think you should be very proud. So I was also just curious because you mentioned that you were influenced by kind of the American ways of parenting in terms of being more verbal with saying "I love you."
Mhm.
Do you still sense any differences in the way that you parent versus how your husband parents?
Between the two of us, let's see. We kind of are we kind of similar, and because we know when kids were young, they will play one parent against the other parent if they wanted something. And so most of the time we form a kind of a, we were on the same page in terms of big things. I guess I have to say maybe my husband has a softer heart, and if I say, okay, this is it, you know, it cannot be done, it cannot be done. But for instance, our daughter wanted a horse. Both of us, right, kept saying that no, 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 no. And then I went to Mexico one weekend with girlfriends to celebrate girlfriend's birthday. Guess what? They bought a horse. So I was like, what happened? What happened? You said that. No, no, no. But actually, we were happy that she got a horse, and that helped her form her personality quite a bit. She was doing the horseback riding. She had to take care of the horse, and so that was good training for her. And she stuck with it for quite a number of years. Middle school, high school, portion of the college, and so that was a good experience. But it shows that my husband is easily persuaded, more easily persuaded.
Yeah, that's funny. I can imagine you coming back from Mexico and being like, "Oh my gosh, what is
Yeah,
this
yeah,
doing?"
yeah.
Yeah, so just tying up this interview a bit, just moving on to some like understanding questions. So what is something that your child, what is something that you wish your child better understood about the way you show love or about your relationship?
Um, I wish that they will understand that sometimes the tough love, when I say no, this is a line you cannot cross, is also coming from love, and coming from the fact that because in the real world, there is certain limitations. You cannot always get what you want, right? Or things turned out to be the way you wanted it to turn out. So you just need to learn to accept certain limitations.
And could you also share your biggest hope or wish for your children?
My biggest hope is for them to be healthy, mentally, physically, and to be happy with what they do, and to be productive members of the community and contributing to the society. That is my biggest hope for them.
That's awesome. And also, if your children were to see this interview sometime in the future, is there a message that you would want to tell them?
Mommy loves you very much. I think the children sometimes I might not appear like very sentimental, but I think I view my children to be my biggest achievements among all everything.
Yeah, that's really sweet. I'm sure if someday they watch this, they'll be really touched by that. Could you also share like a moment in time when you felt most proud of your children?
When they I think there are so many different moments, right? But I just one they stand up for to speak up for those people who do not really have a voice for themselves, and then when they speak up when they see something that is not right, it's unjust. I just feel so proud when I see that, when I see them to display their compassion for others. So
Yeah, that's definitely a really important trait to have. And I guess the last question I have is, could you describe the feeling you had when your baby was born and when you saw them for the first time?
it was miracle, I have to say. Actually, my son was born on Christmas. We are older parents, because I was working and kept thinking that time was not right to have a baby. Time was not right to have a baby. Finally, I was like, okay, I better, concentrate on this. So when Daniel arrived Christmas morning, and I was just so happy, because we really wanted a child for quite a number of years. Finally, it happened, and he was quite amazing. He was quite a big baby. He was 9 pounds 5 ounces, and his Apgar score was, the highest. And so I was just thrilled, really, really happy to see him. His Chinese name is Sheng Qi. That means sort of the Christmas miracle or sage. So of course, when I had after Daniel, we wanted a girl. So when May came along, she was a little bit. She was 5 weeks early, so she was a C-section baby. So when she was born, her head was like the beautiful shape, and even the nurse was commenting there was such a beautiful baby they've seen. So of course that made the mother very happy, and I wasn't even worried about the incision I had, the C-section. So it is very happy moment. But I have to say, 3 days after Danny was born, I went through a low because of the change of the hormone. I didn't understand. It was almost New Year's Eve. For no reason, I started crying. And then later on, I read about it. It was, this is kind of very normal for first-time mothers. Their hormones went through that stage that you get the high and then you get the low. But I didn't have that. I was mentally prepared for May, right, for the second child. So I didn't have that experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to like overcome that. And now that you built like a beautiful family, that's really heartwarming.
I feel very fortunate to have both children. They're healthy, happy. Both are working. So I want the best for them.
Yes, and I'm sure they can definitely sense that. Yeah, so that's all the questions I have prepared for today, but do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I think we covered quite a bit. If there are other questions you think of, feel free to contact me.
All right, thank you so much. It was
Sure.
so heartwarming to hear about your family and your upbringing, and yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me today.
Thank you. But you actually have inspired me. So now I need to tell my parents that I love them
Yes.
orally.
Yes.
And so that they know, I think I know they know I love them because I've been right taking care of them. And but still it will be good for them to hear that I said that.
Absolutely. Yeah.